My name is Javeth Gonzalez, and I'm the community manager here for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and welcome to the inaugural edition of our LiveStream Q&A. Now, for those of you that don't know, earlier this week we posted a news story about the Q&A livestream, and we asked for your questions. And the goal of this livestream is for us to be able to talk to you about Game Update 1.4, Terra from Beyond, and our new free-to-play option that's going to be debuting this fall. Now, joining me today, we have senior producer Blaine Christine and senior designer George Smith. And why don't, George, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background here at BioWare and tell us a little bit about the Operation Terra from Beyond and how it came to be.
Well, I'm George Smith. I'm a designer on the operations team. Whoa, the chair is moving. All right, that's awkward.
I believe you have a button over there.
Oh,
there you go.
All right, we're good. All right, sorry. Yeah, I'm a designer on the operations team here at BioWare Austin, and we're really excited about the Operation Terra from Beyond, which is going live in 1.4. Terra from Beyond continues the story, which started with the Kragas Palace operation about the Dreadmasters, and this one focuses on the Gree species, which, if you're a Republic player, you've probably played the questline of Coruscant with the 4 droids and the Black Bisect and all that. But this time we're bringing you actually meet a Gree and get to interact with them, and it's going to be, I think players are going to really like it.
Cool. Now you mentioned Black Bisector, so there's something unique about this operation that involves the puzzle, right?
Right, yeah. As you know, in every one of our operations we have a puzzle fight. It's kind of become one of our hallmarks. And for this operation, since we had access to the Gree and like the unique way that they speak, we really wanted to focus on that, especially with like the colors and such. So the puzzle fight for this operation is you actually enter into a Gree computer and kind of play a Simon Says type game with your different color data signatures and your blue parallels and your green scalars and such. It's going to be really neat. It's pretty amazing.
Cool. Now, for those people paying attention, we did tease a little bit back in one of our community blogs that someone is going to be returning in this operation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think some of the more acute players who have been paying attention to cinematics and such realize that at the end of the explosive conflict operation that the Dreadmasters actually resurrect Kefis, who was the last boss. And he's back, and he's big, and he's angry. He's very upset that you killed him.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt, for sure.
All right, thank you. Blaine, can you talk to us a little bit more about the free-to-play option coming out later this fall and how that came to be and what we're sort of trying to accomplish with this?
Sure. So I'm the producer of the internal team that is helping us craft this additional option for players to enter the world of the Old Republic. And so what we're doing is creating a free-to-play option, and we're also introducing an in-game store called the Cartel Market. And really how this came about is we wanted to make sure that we've got lots and lots of fans out there, right? And we've got Star Wars fans, we got BioWare fans, all different types of people that would like to experience this game. And one of the things that we've learned since launch in interviewing potential players and players that have come or gone or maybe even still with us is that subscription certainly can be a barrier to entry to getting into the world of the Old Republic. And with lots and lots more free-to-play games, of course, on the market these days, that people see that as a more viable option in terms of the time that they spend in terms of getting into a game. And so we really looked hard at what we could do to make sure that all of the potential folks that may want to experience the incredible BioWare storytelling that we have in the Old Republic, as well as amazing Star Wars action-packed combat, great choice making within a fantastic storyline, had the opportunity to come into the game. And so this fall in November we'll be introducing a new option to allow players to enter the game and play for free.
Awesome. And there's also a rewards program, right?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So one of the cool things we announced when we announced the free-to-play option coming this fall was a rewards program where players who have been with us for a long time, so let's say you, Joveth, perhaps bought a collector's edition and you've been a subscriber with us since launch, we've got a system which allows you to gain some free Cartel Coins, which is our new in-game currency to spend in the Cartel Market when we launch, as long as you're an active subscriber when we launch this program. And so you can go to StarWarsTheOldRepublic.com/free to actually find out the details of this program. But what it really amounts to is if you are an active subscriber, when we launch the free-to-play program, you could stand to amass a large pile of Cartel Coins to spend in-game to get really cool stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, well, that definitely leads us into one of our questions that we have on here.
Cool.
But for those of you at home, so again, like I said earlier this week, we took some questions from the forum, so we have them here prepared to ask George and Blaine here. But in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to transition over to the live questions. We're going to be getting some questions from Twitter, Facebook, and the live stream chat. So let's begin with Blaine. So one of the concerns with well, actually I should tell you who this question is from. Darth THC from the forum says, with the implementation of the free-to-play model, there comes a risk of pay-to-win. You say you are against it, but pay-to-win is a sliding scale. It's not black or white. In fact, some of the boosts you said you expect to put in the shop are considered pay-to-win by some players. Could you please explain your decision-making process about what you will and will not put into the cash shop, especially with regards to the pay-to-win facet of the decision?
Sure. This is obviously something that we're very sensitive to. We've got a lot of people out there who have dedicated a huge amount of time to the game. They feel like they've put a lot of effort into it. And so, of course, one of the big fears that people have is that when we go free-to-play, we're going to allow new players to come in and purchase their way up to the same level of expertise that these folks have spent a lot of time acquiring cool gear, cool weapons, whatever the case may be. So our philosophy is essentially this. Free-to-play players are going to have certain restrictions placed around them when they enter the game. And subscribers are essentially, as far as gameplay is concerned, not going to see a large change. And so really our goal here is for people that are playing alternate characters or coming into the game as a free-to-play player and having these restrictions, which are things potentially like not having rest experience, where they have means to sort of accelerate their progression through the game without becoming a subscriber. So if they see something as a certain impediment, they have a way to purchase their way out of it potentially. So we really see it as a net benefit. We're not going to sell things in the game that are going to allow people to be competitive at high level end game PvP or PvE for that matter. So we're very sensitive to that. However, at mid levels, if somebody is either trying to go through an alternate storyline with a new character class, or if somebody's coming in as a free-to-play player and they would like to purchase a gear set that's going to help them at level 15, we're going to put that option on the table. So mostly what you're going to see are things like experience point boosts, which are going to be beneficial to subscribers as well as free-to-play players, because it can accelerate your experience as a subscriber as well. But we're not going to do anything that's going to harm the end-game folks, and we're very cautious about that and definitely want to pay close attention to the community.
Good. Cool.
Sorry, just one more tag on that. We're certainly doing usability testing as we move forward as well, and we'll touch on this in a little while, but be testing on public test and taking feedback on those types of things as well. So we'll get some feedback in advance of the actual launch.
Good. That's good. George, as Lord of Moo, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, from the forums asked, what sort of content do you have planned for players that don't enjoy PvPing and don't have time or lack the interest in doing the PvE endgame content, such as operations?
Well, we're very aware that operations are not for everyone. There's there's a time commitment, there's a lot of logistics involved in getting 8 players of the correct class and all that together. So as a part of our more frequent updates that we're producing now, we are definitely focusing on giving the section of players who don't enjoy operations more endgame content that they can do beyond just the questing and such. Right. So I think as the updates roll forward, you'll be able to see more stuff like that.
Right. So we already have a few of those that we've announced.
We've got we've got a new daily quest area that's coming out. You mentioned possibly not PvP, but we've got the Ancient Hypergates War Zone. Yeah. And we got a lot of other stuff that we can't talk about yet that we're kind of cooking. Awesome. That will be perfect for those type of players.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next question. This question comes from CR, I believe that's the name, from the forums. It was mentioned that along with the free transfer event, we would also eventually be offered a pay-to-transfer option for characters who'd like to move from one server to another. Is this still in the works, and do you possibly have a working time frame and when we might see it offered? Sure.
So it's definitely a question that we get a lot, and I'll just put it out there right off the bat, which is certainly we want to be able to offer people the option to do character transfer between servers as a paid service. We've actually already had, as some people have experienced, free character transfer out, so we've laid the groundwork for this and got some testing in. So we've got a little bit of additional work that's going to need to go in before we can actually offer it as a paid service, but we certainly intend to do that in the very near future.
Excellent. This question goes to George, I believe. It's from user Hillerbees. When can we expect the expanded storyline? Please, just give me a month to look forward to. You don't have to name the day, just let me know.
Well, as we've teased the planet Makeb, which is going to be the location of the new expanded storyline. We realize that this is a BioWare game, and that the story of your character is very important. And in an upcoming update, when we release the Planet Makeb, there'll be the continuation from where the story left off the main character stories.
So players can look forward to whenever Maquette comes
Right.
out to expand the
Yeah,
story.
and then like we're very conscious that this is a story-based game, and like so like I mentioned in the operation, there's a story thread that continues through all of those, and I think that in everything we do, we're going to try to make sure that there's that element of story there.
Right.
Because it's very important.
Good, good. Next question comes from Izori, I believe. Will the Cartel Coin Shop be in before the free-to-play crossover so any bugs can be resolved? You mentioned this a little bit before, but I wanted you to elaborate a little bit on that. Will people be able to try out the Cartel Coin Shop and just the different items that will be available eventually?
Yep, so I think it's a great question. I think what you will see, our current plan is the same thing we do with any new content we introduce to the game, which is those familiar with or playing on public test, thank you, by the way. You will see that a couple of weeks before we actually launch the free-to-play option, players will actually be able to go on to public test, and our intent is to make sure that anybody who logs on to public test gets some Cartel coins that they can play with only on public test.
Right.
Make sure to point out those don't transfer over to the live game, but you'll be able to go in and we will have the actual items for sale on public test. So at that time, people will be able to go in, make purchases, and basically give us feedback on that entire system. And we can also have a last chance to find any bugs that we haven't found up to that point. Obviously, our goal with public test is always to find those bugs before we get there, but community is great about finding extra things that we missed. So thank you.
Definitely. All right, thank you. This question comes from Costello, and it's a little bit more on the technical side of things, but I think George is up for this question. With the coming 1.4 update, what was the reasoning behind the new daily relics that cost 400 commendations but are only very marginally better, or new equipment, black hole commendation gear that seems to cost 350 commendations per piece?
Just kind of a side effect of the public test environment is that occasionally testing items or items that may or may not have been intended for live will make it up there, and unfortunately that specific item was a case of that. So that item in particular is going to be removed, and it'll be reviewed, and hopefully a better version will come out in a future update.
Okay, good.
That was just a little misunderstanding.
Okay. Question from Vasala. My biggest question is, when will we be seeing the Cathar and HK-51?
Very good question. And I was at E3 talking about the Cathar and HK-51 this year. So with the Cathar, they're certainly still in the works. In fact, both are still in the works. What I can say is HK-51, I am confident that you will see before the end of the year. The Cathar, we don't have a definite time frame for at this point, but definitely intend to introduce them as the first species expansion in the Old Republic. So you will see them as soon as they're ready.
Awesome. Again, this goes back to the Cartel shop, or Cartel store. What kinds of things can we expect to see in the Cartel Coin Shop?
Sure, good question. I think that initially, of course, what you're going to see is a smattering of things. So we're going to have some really cool mounts. We're going to have some cool pets. We're going to have, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, potentially some gear sets, not impactful to endgame. We'll be very sensitive to that, but helping players as they level up. You're going to, and I want to point out, the gear that you will find, I think, will be interesting to everyone because it's not going to be restricted by class or by faction. It's also all moddable. So as you get gear that you purchase in the cartel market, hopefully it's something that you will be able to use for a class that you've got. That's certainly our intent. And we'll also have a really cool thing, which is cartel packs. And cartel packs are packs that you'll be able to buy, and you will get a random assortment of very cool items. And of course, you get a chance to get hopefully some of the cooler items that may be in the game. Not power, but very cool. They're going to make you look amazing, certainly.
Excellent. And that question was attributed to Sial. Sorry, I forgot to mention your name. Next one comes from Samaria. Are free-to-play 1.4 and Cartel Coins all hitting at the same time?
If you're paying attention at this point, 1.4 is already on public test and will be coming very, very soon. As I just mentioned, Cartel Coins and the market are not yet on public test, so those are disassociated.
All right.
Now, what we can say is what we're looking at now, again, 1.4 is already on public test, but Cartel Market, we're targeting November.
Excellent. Now we're going to turn it over to the stream and take some of your questions from there. It looks like we have one from George from our live stream. It's for George, I'm sorry. It comes from Dominion POTF, and he asks, when are we going to see Nightmare Mode for Terra from Beyond?
We know that that's something that players have been clamoring for basically since, from Terra from Beyond. Oh, well, before that, there will be, obviously we want to release Nightmare Mode, Denova, or Explosive Conflict.
Yeah, that's actually, sorry, that was the second part of that. So they want to know when the Nightmare Mode is coming for both of them.
Okay, Nightmare Mode, Explosive Conflict will be first. It'll be coming very soon. And then at some point after that will be Nightmare Mode Denova, or Nightmare Mode Terra from Beyond, sorry. We realize that this is something that for the very hardcore operation players, this is what they want.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we do it right. Nightmare Mode now is not going to be like Nightmare Mode was in Kraga's Palace and Eternity Vault. It is now a fully fledged mode. There will be differences in it from hard mode. It's going to be very difficult to me for those players who enjoy those challenges. It's going to be, I think it's going to be worth the wait.
Okay. Cool. There you go, Dominion POTF. Hopefully that answers your question. The other one also comes from the live stream, and it is from a user named Toggle. He says, XP Boost and Rocket Boost have been mentioned for the Cartel shop. They're already available as legacy perks. How much overlap will there be for in-game currency perks and Cartel Coins?
I don't know that we're prepared to go into details on that just yet. I'm sorry to be that way, but yeah, we may have to reserve that one for a future interview.
All right, let's see. Another question from the live stream, and I believe that George, this one might be for you. What is the current design intent for PvE gear progression for high-end PvE groups, and having BIS accept set armorings available bind on equip through the crafting system in 1.4 and beyond?
We want there to be options. We want there to be multiple vectors for players to increase their character's power. We don't want it necessarily to always be a drop from a operations boss. Having a mix of craftable items and operations drops and such will be, I think that'll be more fulfilling for players. Obviously, operations will always be the focus because that's, players who want to have best in slot they're doing that so that they can progress to operations. So it's kind of, there's always that step up, we need to gear up so we can do the next thing.
Right.
But I also think that having, some variety in how you do that is a good thing.
Okay. We're going to go back to the forums for a little bit because we had a question that we kind of passed earlier. This question comes from SWTOR, and he or she asked, has there been any discussion on allowing Cartel Coins to be used to purchase race unlocks instead of just the level of credits options in use now?
Sure, so great question, and yeah, we sort of passed that up previously when talking about the Cathar. So the intent would be players will be able to use Cartel Coins to purchase the Cathar as the first species unlock when that becomes available. And I think that we're certainly more than open to exploring other species options. Part of that will be dependent on how well the Cathar does when it comes out and how popular it is.
Okay. Excellent. We have another question from the forums from user Phil. I noticed BioWare is now down to only 8 US servers. How will this affect lag and server load when free-to-play hits? And will subscribers have priority in queue times?
Great question. And Phil, I want to assure you that as a former senior live producer on the Old Republic, I'm well equipped to answer this question. So we've recently gone through server consolidation, and we are now on our new high population servers. I think that certainly we feel that we're more than adequately equipped to deal with the increased player load that we expect when we go free to play. So we've done projection based on what we've seen with other games, experience within the studio, and we think that we are definitely going to be able to handle the load. And of course, there's great news for people that are out there using either as your PvP player and you're going into war zones, or you're using Group Finder to go to operations. There's going to be even more population to jump in there with you. So that's all good stuff. Now, on the queuing question, the answer there is one of the perks of being a subscriber of the Old Republic is yes, you will get priority access in the queue. So if we get to the point where we actually have queues during that period, certainly subscribers will get first at bat to get in and get playing.
Excellent, and I think that covers everything that this person was concerned about. This question comes from Foregone from the forums. Is there any particular reason the hood toggle option mentioned in the works months ago has not been implemented yet? I think, George, you might have an answer for this one.
Yeah, sometimes things like that, which sound so simple, actually aren't as simple as they sound when you start getting into the technological side of it. The Twi'lek, they've got tentacles and such. But as a side effect, like researching that, we were able to release the companion unified colors and the toggle helmet. options in 1.4, and the hood will be coming. It's something we really want to do. So.
Cool. Question comes from the stream, and it is from, sorry, I can't pronounce this name, JWill339. How do you think the gearing progression is going to be affected now that Terra from Beyond is dropping Ricotta gear and not campaign gear? Do you think this would have been better suited for campaign players?
Well, there's Terra from Beyond story mode drops Ricotta. And story mode is kind of, it's when when Krog's Palace and Eternity Vault were released, story mode was meant as kind of a progression into hard mode, where now we've separated that because we want, we've actually changed the name, because originally it was normal mode, but now we call it story mode, because we want it to be for players who want to experience the story. So now there's not so much of a gear progression in story mode. Hard mode, Terra from Beyond will drop a new set of gear, the Dreadguard set.
Right, which we just changed the color to, right?
Well, that's true. The colors that were initially put on the public test were less than desirable. A lot of ketchup and mustard, I believe, are the phrases that were used.
Banana Sage was one of them.
That's it. Banana was also that. But yeah, we've gone through and we've definitely cooled them up, I think.
Yeah, I think that that there's the colorization, the new color on them makes them look a lot better.
Yeah, no, they're really sleek.
Question from the forums again comes from Master Nala. Will we ever see content downscaled for groups or solo playing?
This is something we've talked about, but like in particular, operations bosses are some of the most complicated content that we create. They require a lot of testing, a lot of scripting. It's to make them, like to take an operations boss and make it, say, a 4-player boss. It's not as easy as it sounds. It would require basically to remake it from the ground up. So while that may not be an option, we're definitely considering other ways to create more content that's not an operation, basically, for smaller groups of players.
Oh, makes sense. Okay, and we're actually, it looks like we still have about 8 minutes or so, but I wanted to give you guys enough time to see if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about regarding the free-to-play option or regarding the new operation, anything that players will look forward to, or anything that you haven't talked about yet. Blaine, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I think the only thing we really haven't touched on is we'll also have an ongoing reward system, a loyalty program for players who are subscribers beyond the free-to-play launch.
Yeah.
So as part of your subscription, so we talked about a program whereby you're going to get coins when we launch free-to-play because you've been with us in the past, but moving forward beyond free-to-play, if you remain a subscriber, you'll be getting a monthly grant of Cartel Coins that you can go and purchase cool items in the store.
And this is from, you could get all this information if you go to StarWarsRepublic.com/free. We have a nice little handy matrix to check. And the breakdown is all there for players to take a look at.
No, I think beyond that, I think that one of the overriding goals that certainly our designers have had in designing the free-to-play experience is making sure that players really get a chance to experience the entire game. So despite the fact that I've mentioned there are restrictions in place, you need to think of those more as kind of friction points, but players will be able to experience the story in its entirety as a free-to-play experience.
Right. That's good. George, is there anything that you wanted to add about Terra from Beyond?
Well, as Blaine mentioned, I'd like to thank anybody who went on the public test to help us test 1.4, the Terra from Beyond operation, especially. Operations are very hard to test, as I mentioned. We could sit here 24 hours a day and play it and not find everything, where players are just, it's invaluable, and we want to thank everybody who does that.
And we know it's painful because you got that additional patch to go through at this point and everything.
Yes.
So
And then like all your, you may kill the boss, but the items that you get, you don't get to keep them and such. But still, it's very helpful to us, and can't thank people. Yeah, it really is, truly is. Can't thank people enough.
Speaking of Terra from Beyond, we do have an additional question that came from the stream just now. Izanagi asks, are you happy with Terra from Beyond hard mode difficulty? Do you expect guilds to clear it within the first couple of days, or find it more of a challenge?
We're very happy seeing the challenges that players have ran into who are on PTS. I think it's inevitable that some guilds will clear it on the first couple of days. It's just, I think the only way that would not happen is if it was actually impossible.
Right.
If we make it so that it can be beaten, it will be beaten. But I don't think that'll be the majority of players at all. Majority of players who go in, wanting to attempt the hard mode will it's going to take them a while. There's going to be, you may kill the first couple of bosses,
Yeah.
but it's going to, I think it'll give you something to think about for a while.
Some meaty content
Yeah.
to go through. Excellent. I guess the last question that we could probably leave off with is Blaine, in general, how do you address concerns from players who maybe, are used to hearing free-to-play a lot and they associate it with some sort of negativity? Like, how do you assure current players that the experience will remain the same for them, and if not even better? What is there to look forward to, for example, free players versus current subscription players?
Sure, I think that you're definitely, as a subscriber, beyond what we've talked about. So you've got basically expect virtually no changes beyond what you would normally get in a patch moving forward. You're getting the addition of the loyalty program where you get a free grant of Cartel Coins every month. But then in addition to that, I think there's content that as we generate new content that the free players may be restricted from accessing, where subscribers are certainly going to be able to easily get in there because it's free. So that makes it easier.
So new players could just sign up once it's rolled out, could sign up, experience the whole story all the way to level 50.
However, there are going to be restrictions around things like, for instance, war zones. So free players will be limited on the amount of war zones and or flashpoints they can do without purchasing access to more, whereas subscribers are going to have the same experience you have now. If you can play as many war zones as you want, so go do it.
Okay.
Now.
Right now, right
Stop
after
watching
this.
me.
Yes.
No, after this, right.
All right, and that's about it. That's everything that we have from the live stream and from the forums. I'd like to thank you two, George and Blaine, for coming on here to answer these questions.
Cool.
And for you at home, we're going to be doing this around every game update, so you can look forward for future Q&A live streams. I'll be here. These people might be here. They might not. It might be somebody else. Sorry,
Sounds
Blaine.
menacing.
Yeah. So when we do the next live stream, we'll do the same thing. We'll go ahead and post a story beforehand so that we could have your questions, and we'll also take your questions again from Facebook, Twitter, and the live stream. And a special thanks to Eric Musco, who's sort of on the side here, sort of relating all the questions.